All right, folks, let's take a look at the lab report here. If you're on Google Classroom, we have lab report number 4, solubility. One of our main goals is to come up with a graph where we have temperature in Celsius on the x-axis and then solubility on the y-axis. So that'd be grams of ammonium chloride per 10 milliliters of water. That's the amount of water that you put in your test tube. We also had potassium nitrate, so we're going to end up coming up with 2 graphs today. The lab report template is the same as what we should expect. Although it looks like I have a little bit different template here than I remember. Oh, looks like you guys aren't doing a full lab report. So this one is set up to paste your Excel graph below. So you should actually have 2 graphs, and then you're going to respond to the questions after that. Okay, so that's your lab report for today. I made it due on Sunday because I figured like 2 days would be Friday, but who wants to do it Friday night? Because you're going to wait to the last minute anyway, I bet. We'll figure. All right, so for the solubility data, if you open it up, everyone is able to view it. You can't edit it. So when you open it up, you're going to go to File and Make a Copy. And I'm going to change the location of where mine is. Come to Solutions. Come on. No, it won't let me do it. So it's going to be in the shared folder, I guess. So we've got a copy here. And all right, we have a trial 1 and 2 for each group. Some of your data showed up. Some of it was changed because I saw that there were some outliers and it looked really funky. So I want to make sure that our graphs are going to work. One of the first things that we need to do is come up with an average temperature. So we can set up a new cell here, a new column. So average temperature in degrees Celsius. If you go to this little down arrow in cell D up there, we can resize the column to fit the data. And then that just does our auto column width. Okay. To find the average, there's 2 ways you can go about it. You can either select the cells you want to find the average of, and then go up to where it says functions and choose average. And then it sets up the formula in the next box. Enter, there's your temperature. Or we can just type in equals average, which is what we just saw. Parentheses, select the data, enter, there's our average again.
What one is the functions button?
That one. All right, so once you do it once, you don't have to repeat it in every cell. If you hover over that little square at the bottom right corner of the cell to get this plus sign, if you click and drag down for the remaining cells, it will auto-populate the averages. So it repeats that formula automatically. And then where we have the division by 0, we can delete those cells because it was dividing it by 0 cells there, so it didn't really matter. Okay, so we have our average temperature. Now our goal, I'm going to copy and paste this here. Our goal is that we want to come up with a graph where our temperature is on the x-axis and our potassium nitrate or ammonium chloride in grams is on the y-axis. So in order to do that, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, you don't have to do this step, but I'm just highlighting the temperature so we know that where it is. And I'm going to copy the masses over to here. And the masses, I don't know, let's make it pretty. Let's make it yellow. Okay. Yep. Almost Michigan colors. All right. So the reason I put it in this order is that when we go to select data to graph it, the first column of data is always the x-axis, and the second one is the y-axis. So if we said, let's do grams and then temperature, it's going to flip-flop the order on our graph, and we don't want that. So now that I have temperature versus mass, I'm going to select those particular cells, and then I'm going to create a graph. Either we can go to Insert Chart, or we can go to the chart icon here in the bar. We get something like this. Now we don't want a column graph. So chart type, I'm going to change it to a smooth line chart. And we get something like this, which is a little odd. So I'm going to use row 1 as headers. So that means the average temperature and CAN03 aren't part of data. And then it says column D is labels. I don't really know what that means, but I do know that it sets up our graph such that temperature is on the x-axis and the mass for solubility is on the y-axis, which is what we want. And this graph looks pretty good. I mean, we don't have anything where it's going zigzag, so that's nice. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Customize, and I'm going to expand the graph so that we can see a little bit more of the data. Also in part because you may have to, in the questions, extrapolate to certain places, and if we can see more of the graph, that may help us. So horizontal, I'm going to do, let's say 15 to 55. Oh, reverse, there we go. So it's something like this. Okay, I'll go back to 50, that looked good. Yep.
What happened to the NH?
We've only done the one graph so far. You're going to do 2 graphs. So the steps I'm going through for this one, you'll repeat for the other data set. And plus, I'm making a video right now with this live, so you can go back and watch it, and then you can repeat the process for the other one. For the y-axis, let's do our minimum as 0 and our max is 10. So we get something like this, or let's do 2 and 8. The idea is just that we zoom out just a little bit. Okay. All right, so we have a horizontal and vertical axis. Now the legend, because we have one data point or one set of data, we don't actually need a legend. So we can go to position none, and that gets rid of it on the graph. And then last but not least, we need titles and labels. So if we go to chart and axis titles, we need a title for the graph. So it shows up there. We can center it. We can put it on the right, wherever you want. You can make it blue. You can make it auto, so it fits in. The font size we'll keep as auto, because if we choose a font size and then we resize the graph, the font size never actually changes. But if we do it as auto, then it's in proportion to the size of the graph. Once you have a title, which you need an actual title, not just the word title, we can choose horizontal axis title and say temperature in degrees Celsius. So now we have a label for our x-axis. And then we can go to type and choose vertical axis. Do something like solubility in grams of NH4Cl per 10 milliliters of water. So there it is. And then if we close out of that, we can select our graph, copy it, come over, paste it into our lab report, and we're done with that part. And you can answer the questions. But you do have to do this with both sets of data.